Welcome to FlavorScience from FlavorSome, where we explore some of the formulation and flavor challenges that brands face with food and beverage product development.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the 13th episode of FlavorSome's ongoing Flavor Science series, Premium Please. I'm Philip Beckett, Senior Consumer Markets Insights Manager here at FlavorSome. Today's webinar is the second of a four-part series that explores our 2025 flavor predictions, all of which are about experiences people have when eating and drinking. These experiences can help forecast and direct flavor trends in a deeper and more meaningful way beyond tasting good, although that aspect is never ignored. Today, we're discussing how a premium taste and flavor experience impacts people's perceptions and can elevate a meal, snack, drink, or dessert into something gourmet, artisanal, or luxurious. Before we start, we have a few points to help the session flow smoothly. If you've received the sample kit with the mocktail demos and tasting cups, please have it nearby, open, and ready for the tasting portion of the webinar. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature in the Zoom platform to submit them. We'll answer as many as we can in the time allotted, and if we don't get to your question before the end, we will follow up with you via email. One final thing, you will receive a copy of the slides and a recording of the session to view again, and we will post the recording on our website and on our podcast, Flavor Science from FlavorSome, available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Joining me today is Blake Lyon, Applications Manager, who also developed and put together the samples we'll be tasting today. Blake, why don't you introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, Phil. Glad to be here. I'm Blake Lyon, Applications Manager here at FlavorSome, and excited for all you who got the samples to be able to try them and hopefully enjoy them. So,
excellent. Thank you, Blake. So, one question that we often get is, what does premium mean? In general, a premium claim indicates that a product, service, or experience offers superior quality, unique attributes, exclusivity, or enhanced features. These often come at a higher price point, and these are reflective of the craftsmanship and material used in their creation. Within food and beverage, premium denotes products and ingredients which may be artisanal, rare, gourmet, or made through exclusive production methods. So how did we sort of figure out that premium is a trend for 2025? We did that by looking backwards to see how this premium claim has been evolving in new product development. And what we found is they've been steadily increasing over the last 5 years. As you can see here in 2020, about 7% of products launched in North America carried a premium claim, and that has steadily grown to where 9% in 2024 carried a premium claim. So there's this nice steady increase in these premium claims to make the products, worth the money that people are going to spend on them. And this is across a diverse array of product categories. What we have here are the top 10 categories with a premium claim over this time period, and then the growth that they've experienced. So are they outpacing the overall food and beverage industry? Are they the driving force behind it? And we see sauces and seasonings, the number one product category with a premium claim. And that growth is at 7.2%, outpacing the growth of overall food and beverage, which is at 5.5%. Other categories that often involve flavor that are increasingly carrying this premium claim, things like snack, bakery, alcoholic beverages, meals in the center of meals. So think of ready meals, things like that. Dairy products, milks, yogurts, ice creams, and chocolate confectionery. The one that has been pulling back are hot beverages. So these are things like bags of tea, ground coffee. What we see is that there's this movement towards non-alcoholic, ready to drink. So that might be where the shift from hot beverages to cold beverages is occurring. And how does this appear on the shelf? How do manufacturers indicate that something is premium when a shopper is going down the aisle at the grocery store? It comes in a lot of different ways, but you'll start to see some commonalities as we look at 4 product examples here. The first one's in snacks. This launched in November of 2024. This is a potato chip from the Great Lakes Potato Chip Company. We see that on the front of the pack, they call out premium potatoes. So a rarer ingredient. And then at the top here, it's tough to make out, but small batch. So they're indicating a production method that brings in the idea of a kettle cook, a more artisanal, hands-on approach rather than factory. And when customers are asked, are they likely to purchase this? 61% say yes. And that's significantly outperforming the category average. Moving on to something close to what we'll be tasting today, alcoholic beverage. This launched in December of 2024. This is a cocktail kit. So it includes a premium lavender syrup and then a handmade small batch indigo gin. Similarly, 39% of people said they're likely to purchase this, again, significantly outperforming the alcohol category as a whole. Moving into a non-alcoholic beverage, so dairy, non-dairy. This is from Canada. This is a barista oat milk, launched in November of 2024. In front of pack, you see barista, premium blend. And then on the back of the package, it indicates that it's formulated for specialty coffee shops. So making that exclusivity claim without actually saying this is super premium, although it does say premium blend. And then finally, in that number one category, sauces and seasonings, this is a pasta sauce right on the front of the pack, premium, traditionally crafted. And again, 47% say that they're likely to purchase, outperforming the overall sauces and seasonings category. So lots of different ways to indicate premium. Even if you don't want to put premium on the label, all of these do say premium, but there are other ways you can indicate that premium nature. So we use a tool called TasteWise. This is a social listening tool. So whereas looking at what's launched is sort of looking backwards in time, social listening and what people are talking about now is forecasting forward what could be coming to retail as people are discovering recipes, restaurant meals, and other ways to eat and consume other than retail products. So when we punch in some of these critical attributes, we see things like premium. Discussions around premium have grown 18% in the past year. So more and more people are talking about premium food and beverage. When we look at gourmet, this is up 7.5%. So premium, gourmet related terms. And finally, artisanal, up about 14% in the past year. So you might be wondering, how many people is this? Is this 1,000 people talking about premium, gourmet, artisanal? Is it 10,000? Turns out it's 1 million people within this data set. That's about 10% of the number of people that are in this particular data set in the US, with 4 million posts. So that's 4 posts per person talking about premium, gourmet, or artisanal. And this comes in the form of recipes from areas like Pinterest, dishes from restaurants. So think Uber Eats, Order Up, what are people purchasing? And then restaurant menus. We see, over 400,000 restaurants have some products that carry a premium, gourmet, or artisanal description. And when people are talking about premium, what are the experiences they're looking for? Number one, interestingly, is attractive. So this is that Instagram photo-ready food. So they want an attractive food. We see things like indulgent. Again, we see that artisanal gourmet, very closely linked with premium. And as you get sort of down to the lower end of this list of the top 12, we see things like unique and traditional. So how does this show up in recipes that people are searching for? And where can you take inspiration for your retail products? Looking at food, we see with over 1.1 million saves on Pinterest, this slow cooker potato soup, a very traditional meal, but it's elevated to artisanal, premium, gourmet with this recipe. And then we see a spin on a red velvet cake into a lemon velvet cake. This has nearly 1 million saves, and this touches on things like celebration. And when it comes to beverages, we have 2 examples here. We have the Ultimate Bloody Mary. This thing is attractive. It's very photogenic. It's very indulgent. You have the shrimp. You have all of the accoutrement that go with it. And 330,000 people have saved this recipe. And then in the non-alcoholic beverage side, we have a salted caramel hot chocolate with over 180,000 saves. This touches on things like indulgent. You have that salted caramel and the hot chocolate. So which foods, beverages, and ingredients really do hit that premium bullseye? Using high-grade artisanal or rare ingredients these elevate the taste and create that luxurious dining experience. Limited time and seasonal flavors can create a sense of exclusivity, individual experience, and urgency. It's only available for a short amount of time. I might be the only one of my friend group who actually gets this product. And so it elevates that flavor from that LTO or seasonal into a gourmet experience. You can also pair flavors and dishes, especially with storytelling like provenance, which can heighten the experience. It's not just a lemonade, it's a Meyer lemonade or a yuzu lemonade. So you pair the flavors, the dishes, and you tell that story to really elevate it and make it gourmet. And then flavors and textures can create a multi-sensory experience that elevates the usual into the unique. Something that we've seen is in ice cream, crunchy is becoming more of a textural attribute. So inclusions, you have the ice cream base and you have a crunchy inclusion. So you have that multi-sensory experience. So when we look at taste-wise, we look to see what foods, beverages, ingredients are more associated with premium than in the previous year. These are sort of on a curve, emerging, trending, mature. Within foods, we see chocolate pistachio. Discussions are up over 300% with chocolate pistachio. We see Basque cheesecake, so another indulgent flavor there. On the savory side, we see several barbecues. So barbecue pulled pork, Korean barbecue. And then we see some, what I'll call some classics, key lime pie, apple pie, creme brulee. Within beverages, this often takes the form of different coffees. So you have cumin espresso, iced matcha latte. You have golden milk, so the inclusion of turmeric into a dairy product. You have your strawberry matcha, and then some classics, again, some of those teas and lemonades. And then within ingredients, we start to see some interesting ingredients here, L-theanine in particular, so a functional ingredient that's included to make something more premium, along with some, very buzzy things like spicy honey and black garlic. Blake, do you have anything to say about these ingredients, maybe provenance?
I mean, some of these are pretty interesting because the way I kind of tend to think about things sometimes as to way to make something elevated or premium, you can just take a very kind of like basic core flavor like orange, and then you just kind of like shift it a little bit to still kind of keep a very similar flavor profile, but kind of elevate it a little bit. So you have tea, and like we're kind of calling out like oolong tea. Flavor profiles are a bit different, but it just, it sounds a little bit more exotic than just regular tea. Or even you have orange blossom, which is a little bit more floral, but still kind of giving some of those kind of citrus notes you might get from like a normal orange flavor.
So it's the familiar, but it's a different spin on the familiar.
Yeah, exactly. I think so.
Excellent. Thanks. So those were some foods and beverages and ingredients, but how do flavors within those elevate to a premium experience? So crossing flavors from one category to another can really create a premium experience. We saw that chocolate pistachio, but pistachio can turn a cheesecake. A New York cheesecake, you had pistachio flavor, some sauces that can really turn into a culinary delight. Contrasting flavor profiles can create a unique experience that won't soon be forgotten. Lately, we've been seeing a lot about spicy dishes. Those are sweet and spicy. And then something like sweet and salty, salted caramel, can take the ordinary to the extraordinary. And what might be common in one region of the world may be exclusive in another. So globally inspired flavors can create a sense of newness combined with that exclusivity. We've seen that with yuzu over the past several years with that lemon-like citrus note. But it has that difference in flavor, Blake, as to what you were alluding to. Discussions around the term premium flavors have grown 77% in the past year. So people really are talking about this in the online social discussion. Within sweet, we see things like tres leches, cannoli, ube, even lychee and papaya associated with premium. On the savory side, we start to see some heat. So we have chili crisp and then Seitan. And then we have, spices, everything bagel, and even teriyaki, so teriyaki sauce and cardamom. And then in beverage flavors, we see a lot of alcohol-inspired flavors, Pernod, mead, cava, Irish cream, and also those coffees, espresso. along with some teas, fruit teas and iced tea in particular. So, Blake, what do you think about how these flavors can add to a particular food and beverage, maybe even beyond flavor?
Well, beverage is my background, so I'm going to lean a little bit on that. Well, we're seeing a little bit of a rise in the non-drinking movement, and so, but some people might still want to get some of those flavors, and so having that flavor carry across into a mocktail could be one way to kind of elevate an experience without having like the consequences of like drinking. But also, even moving some of the beverage flavors out of the beverage space into like the savory space can kind of create a unique experience, like having a meat that says it's marinated in mezcal, like giving that really smoky flavor could be just a unique experience that I don't think you'd get even in a lot of restaurants.
And with that smoke, you mentioned the mezcal and the smoky flavor. Would that impart any sort of aroma? Sort of taste the tease the taste buds before somebody even eats it.
Oh, I think so. It definitely would depend on like the application that it goes into. But I mean, mezcal is kind of known for being robustly smoky. So I think it would hit you in the face before it hit you in the mouth.
Okay, excellent. So we went through several different flavors and types of foods and beverages. But really, you need to identify the flavors that elevate your particular category to a premium level. So you need to meet those expectations. So, premium flavors that work in one category might not be fit for another. While truffle and black garlic can elevate a humble French fry into a gourmet experience, adding that particular flavor combination to a lemonade is most likely a big misstep. So really, it's important to investigate which flavors and ingredients are correlated with your category and premium as a way to identify those trends. And again, social listening is one way to do that. So looking at dishes and desserts, these are flavors that are very, very highly correlated with premium. And you can see here, I picked truffle and black garlic in my example on purpose because truffle is 3.5 times more associated with premium dishes and desserts than the category average. And black garlic is right there next to it. You also see flavors like ponzu, so East Asian. You have hazelnut, so you bring in that nuttiness, and then some spices with saffron, most expensive spice in the world, very highly associated with premium foods and dishes and desserts. And Blake, to your point about the orange blossom, cherry blossom here, 2 times more likely to be discussed in the context of premium than the overall food and beverage conversation. In non-alcoholic beverage, we see a lot of coffee-related terms, Arabica, Robusta, and then we start to see some functional ingredients as well. Cordyceps, so a type of mushroom, ashwagandha, and even elderberry has some functional aspects, particularly with immunity. Again, we see saffron and hazelnut, again, just very premium in people's minds. And then that yuzu example as well. So that unfamiliar flavor for North American palate a few years ago, still highly associated with premium. So with that, we're going to move on to our tasting portion of the webinar. So if you have those tasting kits, go ahead and get them out. We have a couple pre-recorded videos that will help walk us through the tasting portion. So let's go ahead and get those started.
Hello, my name is Blake Lyon, Applications Manager here at FlavorSome, and today we'll be exploring premium through the use of non-alcoholic mocktails. If you're one of the first 25 people to register for this, you should have received a box with 2 2-ounce flavor bottles and a 1/2-ounce spray bottle and several tasting cups. The 2-ounce mocktail bottles will contain one, a French blonde, and the second one, a lemon gin teeny. And the 1/2-ounce bottle is a rosemary flavor we'll be using later on in the demonstration. These samples were made using a couple different techniques that I like to do. The first one, the French Blonde, I based off of an actual cocktail that you'd get at a bar and kind of remove the alcohol and kind of had to rebalance all the flavors to make it kind of represent what you'd actually get in the bar. For the second one, the lemon gin teeny, I started from scratch and just kind of built it up from the ground, balancing flavors until I was happy with where it was at. And if you haven't already, get your mocktail samples ready, pour them into your cups, and get that spray bottle ready to go. And make sure to save a little bit of your mocktail too for the spray bottle to kind of add a little bit of a twist at the end. and taste them however you think you'd enjoy them the most. You can put a little bit of ice in there to kind of chill the cocktail, or you can leave them at room temperature to get the full experience.
All right, so the first sample we're going to be tasting today is the French Blonde. Looking at social listening, we see that the discussions around the French Blonde are up about 5.5% in the past year from a very small number of people. But what we see is that there's a lot of awareness around this particular flavor. We have some of the top posts and recipes and best-selling items from the TasteWise platform. This one with 23,000 likes. Apparently, this is Taylor Swift's new favorite cocktail, the French Blonde. We have this recipe from Pinterest with about 1,800 saves. So people saying, I want to make this later when I'm at home or when I can get the ingredients to make it. And then a very expensive and therefore gourmet cocktail from this restaurant, a French Blonde cocktail from Mon Ami Gabi for $15. So there is this indication that this particular flavor profile and beverage has that premium connection and connotation between the celebrity with Taylor Swift, between the high price point at some restaurants, and the interest in making these at home. So we're going to be playing a new video. And Blake, I believe you knew that this was Taylor Swift's apparent new favorite cocktail, so you threw in a few Taylor Swift puns in this tasting portion.
I did. And Phil, I knew you were trouble when you walked in.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Up first, we're going to start with the French Blonde. Make sure to take your cup. Make sure there's a blank space. If there's not, make sure you shake it off and then pour the sample into the cup. All right, and you can take some time smelling it too. You should be picking up on several citrusy kind of notes, kind of more grapefruit dominant, but also there's going to be other citrus notes in the background, but kind of mixed with a little bit of floral too, coming from that elderflower. And if you really get in there deep, I even get a little bit of teardrops on my guitar. But one thing you should definitely not pick up on is any lavender haze. All right, now we'll take a sip. Again, it should be very kind of citrus forward, mostly grapefruit, but there will be other notes kind of floating around in there. And then kind of like the little bit of sweetness and acid kind of fighting each other to kind of bring a little bit of balance. And then we'll kind of like finish with a little bit of those elderflower notes as well.
And so now that you've tasted that, we have the formula here. So Blake, why don't you have a little bit of discussion of how you went about creating this and what the different notes with these flavors are doing to create this non-alcoholic French Blonde experience.
Yeah, and so I probably should have looked this up a little bit ahead of time, but I forget some of the components. But like the Lillet Blanc is going to be kind of bringing in some of those like sweet orange, but kind of also a little bit of orange blossom, like floral kind of notes to the cocktail. And obviously, I think the background of this. The backbone of this flavor, this profile, is going to be the grapefruit, doing a lot of the heavy lifting. We do have a gin flavor in there because gin is the alcohol source for this cocktail. So we kind of wanted to bring in those notes as well. And I think the gin kind of helps play with the floral component. And then we have the elderflower, which is obviously represented by the Saint Germain in the actual cocktail. And then we have like just a little bit of lemon because I think in the cocktail, the recipe I was looking at was called for some lemon bitters. So I tried to bring in like a little bit of lemon. And then since we are entering like the mocktail space, sometimes people expect a little bit of that burn that you sometimes get with like a good stiff cocktail. And so we did add a little bit of chili pepper extract to kind of bring in like a little bit of heat to try and like simulate that.
So that mimics the alcohol burn that you would expect from a true cocktail.
Yeah.
And then I see we have the cloud in here as well. Is that what was that put in to mimic sort of the grapefruit juice component with the haziness? Yeah.
So the juice kind of brings in like obviously the flavor, but it also does attribute a lot to the appearance of the drink. And so a lot of juices are not clear, as a lot of us know. And so that cloud flavor kind of just helps bring that like haze to it, with the colors kind of doing the finishing touches to kind of make the cocktail look like it's supposed to.
Yeah, so meeting those expectations and attractiveness and really trying to mimic the bartender made cocktail.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. All right, so with that, we're going to move on to our second tasting. This is making a gourmet classic, so a lemon gintini, also known as a lemon drop. And we see a lot more discussions around this and a lot more growth compared to the French blonde. I believe this one is more well known within sort of the pantheon of cocktails that are out there. We see lemon drop discussions are up 25% within beverage. And then when you put the particular aspects of this cocktail or mocktail together, that gin, the lemon, the martini, those discussions are up 12%, with about 18,000 people discussing this. So a much larger base of people talking about lemon drop, lemon gintini, gin, lemon martini, however people end up discussing it. And we see that that's reflected in recipe saves on Pinterest. And we have a couple different formats here. So with about 140,000 recipe saves, it's a lemon drop shot. So making this into, sort of a 2-ounce shot format rather than a sipping martini. We have a sparkling lemon drop martini, so adding that effervescence with some carbonation. And then what I think is a very premium take on this, it's a limoncello gin martini. So it's not just lemon, it's that Italian liqueur limoncello. So you're bringing in that regionality into what might be considered a relatively standard cocktail to add that provenance, to add that premium aspect. Let's go ahead and get the sample bottle ready because we're going to be tasting that one next.
All right, now we're going to move on to the lemon gintini. If you'll notice, this drink is mostly clear. Now, if you've been following the news a lot, there's been a lot of pushback against artificial colors. So I decided to mostly not have any color in this one. There might be a little bit of haze, but that's going to be coming from like the lemon juice that's in this. And so it's going to depend on the quality of the lemon juice that you have. Used a little bit of lemon juice to kind of help bring in that premium feel to this, like using juice versus just sugar and acid. I think it helps from a marketing perspective as well as a little bit from a tasting perspective. All right, let's give it a smell. This one's going to be more citrus forward, that lemon kind of dominating, but you're going to get a little bit of those triple sec notes kind of sneaking in there as well. And you'll get a little bit of gin in this one, but I kept the gin flavor a little on the lower side just because this is a wider audience. Not everyone's a big spirits fan, and so I kept the gin on the lower side. All right, let's taste it. Again, this drink is pretty light, but really nice. I get the lemon coming through, the other citrus notes, and a little bit of gin on the back end. The sugar on this one is a little bit on the lower side, but we used a little bit of a sweetness enhancer just to kind of keep the sugar lower, but also help those sweetness notes come through.
All right, so Blake, you mentioned a few things there in that pre-record. You included some lemon juice to include some of that haze and some lower sugar along with a sweetness enhancer. Can you discuss the formula and maybe get into the use of sweetness modulator flavors in formula?
Yeah. The sugar in this one's a little bit less than the previous cocktail, but this also has a little bit lower of an acid content. And so we didn't need as much sugar to kind of like help balance out that acid. And so like one thing people look for in the premium experience is like, yes, they do care about low sugar and stuff. But when it comes to premium, I think taste is always going to be king. And so we did want to have like some sugar in there, but to try and reduce it as much as we can. And so that allows us to kind of bring in a sweetness modulator to lower the sugar a little bit, but also kind of keep that sweetness up at a level that you might expect like kind of like a lemon drop martini to be. We use lemon juice instead of citric acid in this one. I think just that simple ingredient swap helps to bring a more premium experience, at least into the eyes of a lot of consumers. And we're using the same gin flavor as the last one, just to kind of like, I guess, have a show that flavors can be versatile in different kinds of flavor types. But one thing I also wanted to point out about this one is like the last mocktail that we had is just kind of full of complexity. There's just a lot of stuff going on here. And I think this just shows you premium doesn't always have to be super complex. We have basically three flavor notes kind of melding together here, and I still think this is a pretty good drink, even though it doesn't maybe have as much going on as the last one.
Yeah, sometimes overly complex can be overly complex, and the simple things in life.
Yeah.
With that sweetness modulator, what level of sugar reduction did you achieve for comparing the French Blonde mocktail to this one?
Well, truth be told, I wasn't trying to hit a reduction between the two cocktails. But I mean, if you're comparing, I think just straight sugar levels, I think we see maybe like a 10 to maybe 20% reduction.
And that can be big. If these are consumed 2 or 3 during a happy hour, that's quite a bit of sugar that people are not taking in. So that no added sugar, reduced sugar, along with natural coloring, are two things that can make something even as relatively simple as this formula into a more premium offering.
Yeah, and I mean the sweetness modulator too will play along with like the flavor profiles you choose. Like I happen to use like a lemonade flavor that kind of leans into the sweet side of lemons, and so I think that also kind of helps the overall sugar reduction experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, especially with that lemonade. The lemonade flavor has that sweetness to it already.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, and finally, continuing with our theme, premium gourmet, now into artisanal. This is our rosemary spritz. So when we look at rosemary and then premium or artisanal within Taste-Wise, we see discussions are up 7% in the past year when it comes to beverages, with about 7,000 people discussing rosemary and premium artisanal. And what we see is that this is often a garnish, not necessarily a main flavor. And in these 3 examples here, it's very, very clear that rosemary here is as a garnish. We see them in the cocktails, in the mocktails, resting on top. So you have that essence of rosemary without it being overpowering. And we see some of these recipes, 15,000 saves, this mocktail with about 8,000 saves, and then this Crowded Kitchen account on Instagram, 29,000 likes for this cranberry ginger cocktail that includes a rosemary garnish. And that was sort of the inspiration for this final tasting, courtesy of Blake, and I'll let him explain that in the pre-record.
All right, and to end this tasting, marketing wanted to show 2 concepts. I, of course, made more work for myself and kind of added a 3rd or 4th concept, depending on how you want to look at it. So in your little box, you should have a little spray bottle labeled Rosemary Spritz. What we're going to do is with your cups you already have, if you didn't drink all of them, just going to give them a little spray. And this is just going to completely change the aroma of the mocktails, non-alcoholic. Yeah, so now we're getting a good rosemary note on both of these. And I'm going to let you kind of explore what you think about how it's interacting with those other flavors. And then we'll taste them. And the spray doesn't really bring in that much flavor. You might be able to pick up on a little bit of it, but for the most part, it's affecting the aroma. And we all know that aroma can change how the flavor is impacted. This is just another way to make something premium. Just make it unique and fun and interactable for your customer at the end. Today, we're highlighting how premium can be used to be applied to mocktails. But this can also be applied outside of mocktails too, into other beverage categories, or even outside of beverage, such as like bakery goods and gummies. If you would like assistance with any of these types of projects, or need help with like flavors, or even coming up with ideas, or even just want to discuss any of the trends that we've covered today, and how they could be used in other applications, please reach out to us.
So what's very interesting to me about the spray that Blake you introduced to us and suggested that we include in this presentation is one of those product examples that we saw earlier. It was the cocktail kit with the lavender syrup and the indigo gin. Something similar could be done with this spray concept, where it's a kit with different bottles of mocktails, and then you have this rosemary spritz so people can customize it to their liking. Could be fun at a party. Could also be used for alcoholic cocktails or other beverages as well. Right, Blake?
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm a firm believer in a good premium product will sometimes help create memories. And I think being interactive like that can help just kind of help you remember those experiences and remember those brands and those flavors a lot more.
Excellent. So let's look and see if we have any questions from the audience. See here, will we get a copy of the presentation? Yes, you will be emailed a copy of this presentation along with a recording of the webinar if you joined late. So you'll be able to view again at your pleasure. We have another question here. I'm working on some bakery projects. What kind of flavors and claims, other than just saying premium, can help elevate these types of products? So this sort of harkens back to one of the slides earlier in the presentation. There's many ways to highlight premium. You can highlight your manufacturing processes, small batch, artisanal, even sustainability stories. Those really help indicate the premium nature of the product. Giving a story can be another way to highlight it. From the heart of the Andes or provenance, like Tahitian vanilla, can elevate that. And if you're a regional player, your product's regional, locally sourced, again, sort of highlighting that sustainability, but also tying back to the particular region. In terms of particular flavors, one path is to take influence from other parts of the world. We saw Basque cheesecake as a European flavor that's emerging as a premium flavor, and I've mentioned yuzu a couple of times, premium citrus flavor. So you can explore other citrus flavors, something like calamansi or finger lime, it's a familiar flavor profile, but it's not a usual term that people are hearing. We have another one here. Why is there an increased interest in premium, and how is the current economic climate impacting the premium trend? So the increased interest in premium, it's multifaceted. There's been a lot of discussion around artificials in the news in the last several months. So premium, especially with understood ingredients that might be more expensive, is a way to address that, people wanting to get rid of artificiality in their diet. And also, with economic times being tough, people still do want some affordable luxuries. So spending an extra $1 on a much more premium product can be a momentary escape. Maybe you can't take the big vacation this year, but I can get a premium cheesecake, that Basque cheesecake, for example. Like I'm going to Spain, like I'm going to that region of Spain, but I'm actually at home. We have one here. Blake, I think this would be perfect for you. As we are reformulating some beverages to meet regulatory challenges, what other changes can we make at the same time to make our products more premium?
I mean, I think flavor is really key here. And so coming up with a flavor that is either kind of unique or, like even Phil mentioned earlier, kind of tells a story, I think can be definitely a one way to kind of bring that premium experience and just help to stand out. I mean, that's another thing about premium too. It's like it's not like everything else. It tends to be a little bit different. Find a unique flavor pairing that no one else has done and just go with it, and like, I think that could draw some people's attention. Sometimes the stuff like that is a gamble, but I don't know, sometimes high risk, high reward pays off.
And if people are reformulating to meet new regulatory challenges, can some of those ingredients that are taken out impact the flavor and therefore you have to rebalance the flavor profile?
Well, of course. And then sometimes even like it's hard to get a hold of some things right now. And so sometimes flavors can also help fill in that gap. And so you're still able to deliver that experience without sacrificing all of your ingredients. And then you can even just look to do things a different way. Especially outside of alcohol, if you are looking, there's a bunch of different sweeteners now. Some of them come with different baggage. And so it's important to like kind of do your research into kind of what direction you'd like to go. But I think kind of helping to try and identify your target audience can also help you kind of, I think, navigate some of these challenges.
Yeah, and that's a good point, knowing who your target demographic is. All right. You sort of touched on this, but maybe you can dive in a little more. The French Blonde had a lot of flavors in the formula. If I wanted to make this, would I have to buy all of these, or can they be combined?
Some of them could be combined, but I do not think all of them would be able to combine into one because that's a lot going on. But certainly that could probably be simplified into probably, if I remember correctly, maybe down to 3 flavors. Although I'm not a flavorist, so don't tell them that I said that, and so they'll get mad at me.
Our little secret. But
Yeah.
you could take that long list. I'll say that there were 10 or 12 flavors in that formula, down to 3 or 4 perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
Okay, excellent. Another one that came in. What does it take to have a premium label on a product? Are there any specific requirements or regulations? I sort of anticipated this question, and I will say I'm not in regulatory, so talk to your regulatory team or work with our regulatory team. But in my investigation, there is no standard of identity or specific regulations to use the word premium on the label. But if you're going to use some other claims to indicate the premium nature, non-GMO, organic, maybe some of the certifications like Rainforest Alliance, those most definitely have some regulatory requirements. So make sure you achieve those before putting, a non-GMO verified badge on the label. Blake, do you have anything to add to that? You touch these products more than I do.
I don't always get as much into the labeling side of things. Like I try and stay on top of everything, but I like to play it safe, and I usually defer to regulatory to kind of help answer those kind of questions.
Yeah, I think that's the safest bet.
Yeah.
Okay, one final question so far. I saw the French 75, which is a cocktail, on the trending flavor slide. What makes that different from the French Blonde?
Yeah, I definitely.
Go ahead.
I said definitely wasn't looking up, remembering what a French Blonde recipe was on the side here, but 2 big differences. I think there's just pure alcohol strength. I think the French Blonde is a little bit stronger, or I mean the French Blonde's a little bit stronger. The French 75, you're going to be kind of swapping out that triple sec for kind of champagne, so you're bringing in some kind of lighter flavors plus those bubbles to kind of just bring about a different experience.
Okay, so they're not really related. It's more just a naming convention, than a true progression from one to the other.
Yeah, one's kind of more grapefruit, one's kind of more lemon, but they're both French citrus.
Okay, excellent. We don't have any other questions that have come in. So I think with that, I think that's all we have today. Blake, I want to thank you very much for your time today, your time developing and putting these formulas together and shipping them out to our participants today. And to everybody who's joined, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. If you have any questions about this webinar or what projects that you're working on, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And please keep an eye out for the email that will contain this presentation along with the link to the recording. And with that, I'll bid everyone farewell, and everybody have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for watching this episode of Flavor Science from FlavorSome. Whether you want to formulate with a tried and true flavor or innovate with a brand new creation, having a great flavor partner accelerates your success. At FlavorSome, we combine expertise, responsiveness, and infrastructure to deliver an all-in-one solution that helps growing food and beverage companies improve their speed to market. Part of our mission is making flavor sourcing more efficient, effective, and enjoyable with best-in-class responsiveness, competitive lead times, and products designed to meet your goals. Work with us to create the delicious new products your customers are craving.